Hello, 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 here we are again at the Compendium of Discomfort. My name is Michael. We're about 1 month away from me finally getting a haircut again, and I just spent the last week or so trying to get a driver's license, which luckily worked out in the end. What was a bit of a hassle. Yeah. Good, so now we are finally back here talking about movies, and today we've got a relatively easy mission. We're talking about Muschi. Muschi. Muschi is not the dirty German word that you might think. There is a very dirty German word that sounds the same, but we're talking about insects. A new movie adaptation of Edogawa Rampo's story by the same title. I think it was written in 1929, and Edogawa Rampo is famous for detective stories and the erotic grotesque, and this one is more of the latter, so it's a little bit more in the it goes into the dark side of humanity, if we want to call it that. But as you might suspect, it's a story from 1922. If you compare that to maybe more modern stories, it's still a bit gross and there's some nasty stuff going on, but it's not all that shocking, I would say. At least maybe for a mainstream audience that's still quite hard what's happening here, but I would say for a horror audience this is quite mild and not all that disgusting. It's more a psychological thing that's going on here. There's no horror in that sense. There's not much violence or gore. Yeah, some people have a sad fate, but overall, I wouldn't say it's a horror movie that doesn't match. I would say it's more grotesque, human drama, and if you watch it like that, I guess that's more appropriate to set the expectations. And I have watched some adaptations of Rampo's works. I have never read any of his books. I have one or two here, but I still haven't read them. Now, I got interested in this movie because of the director, who is Wataru Hiranami, and he was one of the 3 directors working on Baby Assassins Every Day, and usually he's more of a assistant director. That he worked, for example, on Ichiko, which is fantastic. He worked on Desert of Namibia, fantastic. He worked on Love, nonetheless, fantastic. He worked on Wakamusha, great. So a lot of really great movies that he worked on. And last year, he made a Twitter post where he said, I stop being an assistant director, and everybody was, oh, now you're going up to direct. He worked on Rolling Marbles, which I haven't seen yet, but it's a Kenichi Ugana film, and Kenichi Ugana is a good guy. So yeah. Anyway, he made another movie that's called Searchlight, and someone in the comments on this channel at some point recommended that movie to me, so I still haven't seen it, but it seems to be quite good according to that person. But I guess someone who watches my channel must have great taste anyway. So anyway, so this is a relatively low budget movie. The cast is not all that famous, so I will just mention the 2 main characters. One is played by Kinari Hirano, who was, for example, in Rurouni Kenshin the beginning. And then we have a lady, that's Rina Sato, who hasn't done any other movies yet. And let's take the most important thing straight away. It's a good movie. It's not great, it's not spectacular. It's a little bit weird every now and then. It's a little bit uneven. And overall, I would say it's good and worth watching if you like this kind of story. Like, it's very much about obsession and fetishes and, what these things make us do. It's a story about important detail. It's an adaptation, but a modernized version. So don't expect this to be in like 1929 or something like that. It's more or less kind of present. There's some weird details that I'm going to get into in a second, but it's kind of the present time, or more like retro-futuristic version of the present time, because there's one weird detail that I don't know why they chose that. It seems like something imagined like 10 or 15, 20 years ago. It's something it didn't turn out like that. I don't know why he chose to do it. Anyway, so it's about a movie writer or a director, and he hasn't done a movie in years, and I think it's kind of a manager or producer, I forgot, some friend who's involved in the stuff. He's like, hey, here, let's go to the theater and watch this play. And he goes there, and then he meets the main actress from that play, and somehow he starts liking her, and she becomes his muse, and then things turn bad. I will talk about the bad part in a spoiler section at the end, because I don't really want to spoil too much in case that you want to watch it unspoiled. So let's talk about what works and what doesn't work. I think overall the atmosphere and the set design and these things for this scale of movie works very well. Especially at the end, we have some very nice visual elements. We have some very nice shots in general. We have some very weird shots with weird pans and zooms, which looks a lot like a very strange TV production. But that's more in the first half. I would say the first half is generally the more troubled one. It works much better in the second half when we go to the gritty, disgusting details. But same with the acting. I think the main actor, he does an overall good job, but he's not giving a naturalistic performance, let's say it like that. Many people would say maybe overacting. I don't know. I don't like the term overacting, because I talk to so many people in Japan who say they don't want to watch realistic or naturalistic stuff. They like over the top, and I'm never sure if it's not intended to be not real or a little bit over the top or something. I don't know. I prefer to just say it's not naturalistic, and as long as it still gets the point across, which this one does, I think it's totally fine. But I needed some minutes to get into the movie, to get into the feeling of how it's presented, that it's sometimes over the top, it's sometimes a little bit wacky, it's not all that serious. I would say there were some scenes that made me laugh. I don't know if that's intentional or unintentional, no idea, but it worked because it entertained me. And there's a bit in the middle where I would have enjoyed a little bit more of this wacky entertainment stuff going on. Would have been cool, but it's not all that bad. Anyway, so I needed some minutes to get into the feeling how this movie works and how everything is presented, and then it worked out fine. And these strange camera work that I mentioned before, it's not bad. It's just a little bit unusual, and I would prefer to watch a movie that's shot slightly unusual, maybe not to the highest standard, but a little bit more unique, and that makes it more interesting. So it's in the end a plus. Just feels weird. The whole movie feels weird. I can totally imagine it being better the second time around when you know what you're getting into. And so, yeah, it's a bit unbalanced, I would say. Or, yeah, a little bit unconventional every now and then. And that's interesting. Interesting is good. I like interesting. Yeah, anyway, so the performances are sometimes a bit weird. The camera work is sometimes a bit weird, and then sometimes it's really good. You have some very nice scenes, some nice looking scenes, some very nice set design. I'm pretty sure there's a scene where a person who's supposed to be dead still moved, but who cares? It's all a crazy time at that point, so no problem with that. It's 90 minutes long. Maybe it would have helped to make it even a little bit shorter, a little bit editing here and there, but it's not a big issue, like I said. It's mostly a thing like what do you expect? The same with when I watched the movie, I hoped a lot that they would take this theme of obsession and where it ends even further to the much more disgusting stuff, because that would be funny. And I always thought, are they going there? Do they dare that? But then on the other hand, like the original novel probably didn't, because even like with what we have here, and I'm just guessing that they adapted it quite truthfully and didn't add like crazy extreme stuff just to be crazy extreme. Even at that time, they seemingly got in quite some trouble. It was quite hard to release the book, so I guess at that time they went to the maximum of grotesque, disgusting weirdness, and so I'm pretty sure they didn't want to make up too much stuff just to make it more gross and disgusting for a more modern audience who has basically seen everything. And like I said, it's not a horror movie. It's probably not made with that intent. It's not there to shock anyone who has seen everything. So it's not something that I should complain about. But I while watching it, I kind of wished, like, please go a little bit more into the really nasty stuff, and they didn't. So yeah, it all makes sense. If you watch it as a drama, it probably makes much more sense as if you watch it as a like deranged horror story. Like I said, it's not even scary, and there's no scary moment. But like I said, there's some very nice moments, and it's worth watching, and probably it's better the second time around. But to talk about some more details, I need to spoil, and that's why now is spoiler section. If you're into this kind of stuff, I recommend watching this movie. It's good. Not amazing. It's not gonna be in my top 10 of the year, but it's worth watching, and give it a try. So from now on, heavy spoilers for everything that happens in the second half of the movie. Yeah, that's what we need to do for this. So he is in love with this actress, and he writes a script just for her to be in his movie, and he gives it to his friend, and he says, oh, holy cow, that's not good. And then he gives it to her. Tells her a story about a love letter that he wanted to go give to a girl, and he was too scared to give it to her. And then she realizes, oh my god, this is basically a love letter for me, and she starts to laugh at him and just walks away. And he gets really, really frustrated and, like I said, obsessed with her. And a stalker suddenly appears and shows him a video where this actress has sex with his friend and talks pretty badly about him and all these things. And it's a really, really, really nasty, depressing thing to watch. And yeah, in the end, he kills her, and instead of getting rid of her body, he keeps it as a kind of, a fetish object. There's not really anything that's like sexual, but yeah, it's quite obvious that he is in love with this dead body, but they don't show anything going on there besides him being obsessed with her, and I think there's an attempt to kiss her. And I forgot the funny element that is not really not really correct for our times. He has a like AI, and it's a light that glows whenever it talks, and it talks really unrealistically, and I think a modern AI wouldn't look like that. I mean, it's a nice visual thing to put it there, just above his head. Ooh, yeah, I'm here, I'm watching. I don't even know how that's supposed to work, other cameras. I don't know. It understands the situation and talks to him in a very artificial way. And I think a real AI nowadays would talk much more naturalistic. But yeah, it's a movie version that people would have done like 20 years ago. So I don't know, or maybe even the 60s or 70s. And yeah, when he attempts to kiss her, he gets support from this AI. That's the realistic part. The AI supports him in almost everything he does, no matter how bad it is. And yeah, so he basically keeps this dead body in his apartment and sees her rot away bit after bit and going crazier and crazier because he can't stop her rotting. And yeah, his friend has some trouble with his stalker and these things, and in the end, nobody is really happy. Yeah, and it's a story about obsession and fetishization and these things, and where it can lead. And yeah, it's good. There's some very colorful when he tries to cover her like spots that she gets on her skin. And it's getting quite colorful and with flowers, and so it's kind of nice, kind of cute. But yeah, basically we watch this guy watching his fetish object rotting in his room, and it's not that pleasant. And then yeah, when it gets to that part, it's kind of gross and nasty. But yeah, it's like the last 10 minutes or so. So from the middle where he kills her, this killing scene is very interestingly filmed. Like she's standing with her back to the wall and he's choking her like this. And then they have this from this film from the side and set in all kinds of locations where they were before in the movie. Looks really nice. Very nice idea. Very nice visualization of this culminating of his frustration and their history with the constant thing of him killing her. Interesting choice. Very well done. And yeah, like the second half is where I feel like they actually more or less nailed the movie, nailed what they wanted to do. Like all the quirks and flaws are out. We're still over the top. It's still sometimes really funny. But then we're actually into it. It doesn't seem so overacted because everybody's already crazy. Yeah, and it must have been horrible for this actress to just sit there and be dead and look like a doll for adult pleasures, getting her teeth brushed. Yep, anyway, so that's basically all I can say about this movie. It's interesting, it's good, and yeah, if you're into that kind of story, give it a try. It's yeah, good. I can just repeat it. Bye.